this is Howard with House of the Rising Sun, the 1964 classic from none other than the Animals. And of course, it's a traditional folk song, which they definitely rocked up and put on the map. And now the rest of the world knows House of the Rising Sun. I've gotten a lot of requests to do this one, but I've never done it. I just kind of figured everybody knows how to play it, right? But I taught it to a student the other day, just last week, and in going back and listening to the original recording, which I hadn't heard in a long time, I definitely spotted some nuances and colors, you might say, that I think are sometimes overlooked. And I'll get into that with you guys right away. So first of all, let's map out the chords. We've only got a handful to deal with here, but we've got an A minor, we got a C major, we have a D major, an F major, and an E major. Okay? And at the very end of the song, we will also add a D minor, and we'll end it with an A minor 9. So I'll explain all of that as we get into it. So let's start off right away. The first chord progression, a bit about the tone. You want to be on your bridge pickup with your tone and your volume wide open, and a very clean, dry sound if you want to emulate the original recording. Okay, so the chord progression out the gate is A minor to C, to D, to F, and then A minor to E twice. So a lot of times you hear it played like this. With those sweeps right across the strings, right? If we look at the A minor chords, you hit the open A string and then sweep across the strings and brush up. 3 upstrokes from the first string to the G string. Now that sounds totally fine, right? And it's totally cool to play it like that. But if you listen to the original recording, even though he might be sweeping across the strings, there's a definite rhythm that he's doing it with. And that's supported later on when he starts strumming, and he starts strumming that actual rhythm, that specific rhythm. So that makes it a little bit trickier to play, but again, if you listen to the original recording, I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. What you actually hear is And again, I think if you listen to the original recording, that is what you'll hear. Now, admittedly, he's not always super accurate about it, but he's there most of the time, and that is what you hear. Now, one of the other nuances that you'll hear in there is that open G string, the use of the open G string between certain chords. So, for instance, from the A minor to the C, he opens up that finger, and we hear that open G string in between the A minor and the C chord. And then he makes his way to the C, and that actually sounds really cool. And of course, on the C chord, you already have the open G, okay? Now, the D chord and the F chord are smaller chords, right? They're just 4-string chords. So what he does with that is you hit the open D string, sweep all the way down to the first E string, and then come up. And you'll hear that open G string again. Okay, so moving from the A minor to the C, you're using the exact same strings. Right? So you've got a smaller sweep there, so to speak. Open D string, but you do sweep all the way to the first E string and then hit that again, coming back up. And then you'll hear that open G note, again, that open G string. And I think that's just him moving to the F chord, right? right? It's just to get to the F chord on time, but it sounds kind of cool. And then you'll hear him do it again, moving from the F back to the A minor. You definitely hear that G in there as he moves back to the A minor, and you'll also hear it as he moves to the E major. He comes off of the A minor chord with that open G. And you'll hear it again. So he's using that open string right between the A minor and the E major, which goes twice. It gives it a certain sound, even though it might just be his way of maneuvering the chords, right? But it gives it a certain sound along with that very specific rhythm. So here it is, nice and slow. And that's the first progression, all right? And then the chords, it's the same chords again, but now we're going to play A minor to C, to D, to F, and to A minor once again, just like we did before. But instead of going A minor, E, we're going to go back to C, and then we're going to play E major twice. And then we're going to go back to A minor again, and we will play A minor, C, D, F, A minor, and E one time, okay? It's actually a really simple chord progression. And then the whole thing loops around again. You just start the whole thing from the very top, what I showed you right out the gate. So the whole progression, I'll play it nice and slow, goes like this. And then from there, it repeats all over again. It just becomes a giant loop. And I was talking about that specific rhythm that he's using. Right? Very specific. Very cool rhythm. Well, when the organ solo starts, he starts strumming the chords, okay? Just kind of earnestly bashing away at them. And that's the rhythm that he's using for the strumming. And then he returns to the arpeggiated chords for the following verse. So let's talk about that strumming pattern. It's actually pretty easy, and again, it's that same rhythm. All right, so we've got down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 down. And on that last down, you're moving, okay? So you're kind of letting your fingers off of the chord you're on as you make your way to the next one. And at the tempo they're driving at, you don't even notice it. Notice it a little bit, right? but it's still good. Either way you slice it. So as I said, after the organ solo, he heads right back to the arpeggios for the next verse, and so on and so forth. And then right at about 3:02, about 3 minutes into the recording, he returns to the strumming pattern and he just stays with it for the entire outro of the song until they get to the very end, where he just lets an A minor and a D minor chord ring out back and forth 5 times. So let's say you're at the tail end of the situation now. Starts to slow down. And you'll definitely hear the organ play that A minor ninth. It's hard to tell in the recording because they really crank up the organ. The guitarist might just simply be hitting an A minor chord, coming off of it. But if you want to capture that organ chord, you can do it just like that and just walk across the strings from the A all the way to the first E string. So there you go with House of the Rising Sun, the classic from the Animals from 1964, with maybe a couple of little cool nuances added in there that you'll find on the original recording. Okay? All the best to everyone, and we'll see you guys soon.